This is Rogers TV.
Welcome to this edition of Dufferin Life. I'm your host, Teena Avery. Thank you so much for tuning in. So there is an exciting show coming to town. Do you have your cowboy hats? Joining me today, we have Lisa Way. Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the show again.
I brought my cowboy hat.
You did. I feel like I should have. Yeah,
I brought a little glitzy, a little sparkle.
You know what? I have a pink cowboy hat, just like that. I didn't even think to bring it.
Hey, that would have been perfect.
But I'll wear it to the show.
Okay, that's even better. And then we can line dance together in our cowboy hats.
That sounds beautiful. Okay, so yes, we are all joking. Lisa is one of my favorite guests, and I love having her here. So tell me, what is the show and where is it happening?
So the show's called Opry Gold, and it's the best of the kings and queens of country that have played on the Grand Ole Opry. So it's one of my favorite shows, I have to say. It's playing at Theatre Orangeville from June 25th to 27th for 4 performances.
Amazing.
And this is one of my only concerts that Theatre Orangeville has not presented ever.
Oh, that was going to be one of my questions. Like, has this show been done on that stage yet?
No, and it's funny because when the pandemic hit, of course, we don't want to talk about that, but the artistic director, David Nairn, had said to me, what shows have we not done yet? And so coming out of the pandemic, we brought last year our Gordon Lightfoot concert, or sorry, no, that was during the pandemic.
Yes.
We brought our rock show back, and then this year we're finally bringing Opry Gold to the Theatre Orangeville stage, so I'm excited.
That's very exciting, absolutely. So I'm going to say this once, I'm going to say it again, www.theatreorangeville.ca. Call the box office at 519-942-3423. I'm going to send David Nairn a bill for that for that
little plug.
I know it off by heart.
I was going to say, you know it so well. It's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the artists that are going to be featured in the show.
Well, it starts off with talking about the Grand Ole Opry because it has been on the radio since 1925. Wow. So that is almost 100 years now. And as the Opry has grown, because it started off in a little radio station with performers coming in and singing, just like I'm in the studio with you, and then it moved to a theater, and then it moved to the Ryman Auditorium, which everybody knew, which was very large in 1974, and then it moved to what is now a 4,400 seat theater at Opryland, USA. So 4,400 people still listen to it and come to see it live every Friday and Saturday night. So it's quite amazing. It's the longest running radio show in the world, and every country star from Keith Urban to the current country stars, to Taylor Swift, to Kenny Rogers in the past, Dolly Parton, Hank Williams, got his start on the Grand Ole Opry. Almost every country singer that you talk to says that the greatest highlight of their career was playing, because it's so legendary.
It is.
And it's kind of hallowed ground to stand on the stage there. So when they moved the Opry, they moved the piece of the round stage floor. They moved it so that every singer from then on would stand on the same hollowed ground as George Jones and Tammy Wynette and Loretta Lynn. So it's really cool. Yeah. So we have a little piece of wood that we we all stand on for the show.
That's amazing. See, and that's one of the things, if you've never been to one of Lisa Way's shows, you find out a wealth of information of whatever the show happens to be about. And I just love that part of it, because it's not only about, you enjoy the singing, and we're going to talk about the costume changes and all the things that happen, but absolutely.
This is just one.
This is just one, yeah. But there's so many things that actually happen at the show, but and you walk away learning something. Like, I didn't know about the piece of stage that moved from one to the other.
Well, and it's funny because Tammy Wynette, one of my favorite stories, is the time that George Jones was known as No-Show Jones.
Okay.
Because he wouldn't show up for concerts. And back in the day, audiences still came. They just hoped and prayed that he'd show up. And one night, because he was a heavy drinker, Tammy took the car keys away from him so he wouldn't drive drunk.
Okay.
And next thing she knows, she looks around and George is nowhere to be found. And she looks out the window, and the riding lawnmower is missing. And he took the lawnmower, and he literally drove it 6 miles down the road to the nearest bar. So, you know, we tell just fun stories
Right.
about, you know, going into the songs, and I love those little tidbits of information that kind of help you see the relationship between the performers, or where the song came from, what was going on in their lives at the time. You know, Loretta Lynn drinking, you know, or saying, "Don't come home a drinking with loving on your mind." You know, it's pretty easy to see where that came from. The idea for that when she wrote it. Yeah.
And I think it also provides a connection from the
Yes.
audience to you on the stage, to the performer that you're honoring by singing their songs.
Yes, for sure. And this year, David is getting a bonus because I've added one more musician to the show.
Okay.
Last year, when I was doing the Early Morning Rain Gordon Lightfoot concert, I discovered an incredible young guitarist singer who's got a glorious voice. His name is Brant Garrett.
Okay.
And so I added him to the Opry Gold show. So we've got 2 lead guitarists, a piano, drums, bass, and a violin, a fiddle. And so I've got 3 new players coming to Theatre Orangeville that have never played on the stage before.
How exciting.
I've just been rehearsing them in the last month. I've been rehearsing 3 new players into 3 different shows that we're touring this year. So it's been a really exciting time for me as well. It's kind of rejuvenating because the fellas I've hired, one of them is a 23-year-old violinist that is amazingly talented. Another one is a 23-year-old guitarist that is fresh out of Humber College jazz program. And it's really kind of rejuvenates you to work with young artists that anybody can relate to this, just are so excited to be able to perform and share their music. They haven't been touring for 30 years and they're tired like I am, you know?
Well, you would never know that you've been touring for 30 years.
40 actually.
40,
but
okay.
I didn't want to say that.
But no, I mean, every show that I've seen that you've done, the amount of energy and the amount of effort and everything that goes into it, you would never think that you were tired.
Well, that's nice, Teena. Thank you. Well, and it is. I think, you know, when you do something you love, which, you know, you've been doing this for a long time, you know, too, I always admire that you can do an intro and not flub. You know, you just deliver it right to the camera, and that takes experience, you know, to know. And it's like going on stage with a script and making it sound like you're saying it for maybe the first time. And that is experience. That is funny. Mentoring these young players has been interesting too and fun, because one of them had never spoken on stage before. He's
Oh, wow.
a wonderful musician, but he'd never actually had to deliver, you know, lines or dialogue. And we're just having so much fun. So I'm really excited to bring Opry Gold because we've added some new songs for the new performers. Jack Gaughan is one of the new guitarists, and he suggested a Keith Urban song that's one of my favorites, "Somebody Like You."
Okay, amazing.
That Keith wrote just before he met Nicole Kidman, because he wondered if he'd ever find that special someone. And of course, not long after he met Nicole. And that was when he was, again, all of these artists, these country artists who, you know, were, you know, a little heavy drinkers, and he kind of hit bottom.
Yeah.
And then he met Nicole, and she helped him, you know. And there's some really lovely, interesting stories, like, you know, of that, of kind of, you know, not redemption stories, but country music really does bring out the human side of everybody.
Yeah, like there's such, I mean, not that there isn't honesty in a lot of the other genres of music, but there's an honesty about country music, whether, you know, you hear people making the jokes like, oh, you know, my truck broke down and I lost my dog, and you know, all those types of things. But you know what, that probably really happened to them. So, you know, and they're just sharing how they feel about it, and that makes it, that emotes such, like, it just gives you what they were feeling, and, you know, it makes it a special song, and country is definitely one of the most honest.
Well, and just honest for sure. But the music is so beautiful. You know, I've all my shows, we kind of cover rock, pop, jazz, country, folk, and the country shows, the audience reaction is always, and it really, you know, it is the, you know, down-home country folk, the folk that really want to come out and have a really great night of entertainment and laugh.
And dance in your seat. Like,
and
oh
dance
my goodness.
in their seats. Yeah, and get up, because we have a line dance. We're doing a Billy Ray Cyrus tune. I won't say which one. But there'll be a little bit of line dancing. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, we've added some new, because this concert, I think it debuted, 2016 maybe.
Wow, okay.
So it's one of, it's not one of my oldest concerts, but it debuted. So we just updated it a bit with some newer country songs. There's still the old ones that everybody will love. We can't,
you can't get rid of those.
Can't get rid of those. And Minnie Pearl makes an appearance. So there's a lovely comedic section, and we do a lot of silly jokes, which was really cool just to see the new performers come in, and I handed them all the silly jokes, and when we read it, we were all killing ourselves laughing. Their country music just evokes the corniest, funniest jokes with pitchforks and hay bales. and yeah, so we're just having a great time.
That's amazing. So I'm going to ask you, and I know I've asked you this before, but with this particular show, not necessarily, oh my goodness, not necessarily songs that you're singing, or it could be songs that other ones. What is your most favorite artist that is in this show? It's a hard question because I know there's so many good ones. Yeah,
that's a hard question. My favorite artist in the show, that would be hard. I love, we do put a Patsy Cline song in, and Patsy's one of my favorite artists of all time. I love the Keith Urban song that Jack is doing. It's really, really lovely. There's a moment in the show where Bruce Lee, who's been my pianist for almost 20 years now, Bruce sings, "You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille," and the whole audience sings along, and I just love that. I love that moment.
That is one of my favorite. We used to sing that in my house with my dad. We had we had this old stereo that my dad brought home from Germany when he was in the Air Force, and you would have the small, I can't even remember what they're called,
45.
45. There we go. My age. But yeah, so we would play this, and we would just belt out this song. Oh my gosh, I love that song.
but so it's always interesting because we just finished doing our Canada show again for the first time in 5 years, and putting these new band members in, and to see the audience or hear them sing along to almost every song in the show. And Opry Gold is a lot like that. The audience just every song they know it, and they know almost all the words, if not all the words. And yeah, there's really something special about 500 people in a theater or 300 people in a theater singing along together, and it just kind of makes your heart happy.
Yeah.
We as people, I think we're meant to share things.
I think so, and I mean. I've had David on and several people from the theater over the years, and we always talk about that feeling that you get when you've gone to see a show, be it a musical or whatever it happens to be, or if it's music. You just kind of walk out of there because you've spent an hour, 2 hours, whatever, an hour and a half, whatever it happens to be. You've spent that time just not thinking about anything, but really being a part of what's happening on the stage.
And sharing it with strangers, which is just a wonderful thing, because I always say that music brings people together. No matter what our age or our nationality or our religion or politics, music can bring the world together as one, and nothing else matters except the music.
Yes.
And that's such a powerful thing. And it kind of just makes us all the same. Music kind of strips away everything else, and that's the best thing for me is that every audience that comes in to see any of our concerts, they just become one. They just become one, the heart of the audience. You can feel it, and it's funny because every audience is different. There's no doubt about that. But the audiences become one, and that's kind of special.
And that's amazingly special.
Yeah.
Lisa, I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, Teena.
And thank you for joining. Oh no, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Oh my goodness. I was like, are we at the end?
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Engine 51, ammo 61, structure fire.
Wednesdays on City TV. Watch 3 back-to-back episodes of the hit franchise with Chicago Med.
I witnessed plenty of last-second miracles.
Clear.
Fire.
Squad 3, suit up. We do not have a lot of time.
And PD.
Got eyes on the target. All units move in.
Just want to sit next.
keeping it real with me, where I'm from. I miss someone got your back.
Chicago Wednesday on City TV or stream it on City TV Plus.
Focus better.
Partner better.
Sleep better.
Breathe better.
Love better. Work better. Friend better. Unwind better.
Everything gets better when you get active.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. And if you're just joining us, I'm excited to introduce our next guest, Angela Van Bremen. She's been on the show before. Angela, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you very much for the invite. It's really a delight to be here again.
And we're talking about something new.
Yes.
So, Angela, I'm feeling this show is very artsy. But Angela is both an author and a musician and artist. And she does so much more than that. I'm learning just as we were speaking before the cameras came on. So, Angela, let's start off by saying what came first? Were you a singer? Were you a writer?
I would say it's a mixture of both.
Okay.
But really, writing was what I started with.
Okay.
From an early age, I was always writing poetry. Mm-hmm. And I did sing, but sort of I was a closet singer, so no one really was aware that I loved to sing so much. And so growing up in the country, I was always singing in the forest.
Okay.
So I was entertaining the animals and the wildlife. But when I'm writing poetry or prose, I'm finding that there is a musicality and a rhythm to it. So for example, if you've got a book that you just can't put down because you've got to turn one page after the other because it's so exciting, it's because the reason is the writer has gotten into a rhythm. There's a musicality and a beat to it. Mm-hmm. And so that musicality, I think, is something that you have a hard time then separating, for me in my case, the writer from the singer, from the music, because there is a musicality in both things, obviously.
Absolutely. So you have some very exciting news. On April 16th, you released your very first album.
Yes, I did. It's Celtic in nature. Mm-hmm. I've always loved Celtic music. Sometimes people tease me and say, "But you're Dutch. Why do you like this music so much?" Mm-hmm. And basically, I think it's because my parents played it a lot as a kid. And my mother's middle brother, so my uncle Bert, he married a Scotswoman. And I think that I heard a lot of the music because of this as well, like going to events like Highland Games or Highland Scottish dancing, you know, when I would be exposed to it. So I think it's sort of absorbed by osmosis. Mm-hmm. So even though I'm Dutch, I really do love the Celtic music very much.
Well, I think that plays to, I think, every person, that when you're growing up and your parents like a certain type of music, I still listen to some of the things that my parents were listening to when we were growing up, and I absolutely love them, whereas people will walk in and go, "What are you listening to?" And I'm like, that's part of me, like it's part of, you know, and I'm not a singer, and you're all very happy I'm not a singer, or I don't sing. But yeah, I mean, I think that plays a big part in growing up and who you are and the music that you know that you listen to. So, so what other types of music inspire you?
Well, I love opera, and I was coached by a wonderful individual by the name of Marc Dubois, who got me started with opera to start with, and just love that opportunity. And I also work with a coach now. Her name is Cynthia Fucili Fox, and she is an opera singer, mezzo soprano actually. So I do have opera at the soul of me. However, I do like to branch out. So when I was working on this album with a gentleman by the name of Mars Giamarco, and some of the pieces were maybe more suitable for a pop type of approach. So he said, "Can you take the opera out of the voice a little bit?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" So it was actually a fun challenge to try a different approach to singing, and I enjoyed that very much.
So let's talk about the name of the album and where people can find it so that they can check you out.
The album is called In the Breeze, and you can find it on any of the online platforms. So it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, iTunes, really any of the major major platforms. You can find the album In the Breeze. And you can also go to my website, which is wildsongbird.ca, and you can find links to get to the music that way as well. Although I was only going to go digitally at first, I did have quite a few friends ask me for CDs.
Oh, wonderful.
So I did produce CDs as well, and I brought a copy of a CD today.
Wonderful. Yes, and we have it here, so I'm just going to let you have a look at that. So while they're having a look at that, Angela, tell me a little bit about your writing process. Like, did you write all of the songs on the album?
No. There's 11 songs on the album, but 3 are originals based on my poetry. So the first one is called I Will Be in the Breeze, which is sort of the source of the title, In the Breeze. And this was based on a poem that I wrote close to Mother's Day, and it was in remembrance of my mother. And I had a really good friend of mine named Raina Valcourt who heard the poem, and she says, I love this. Can I write a song for you? I said, oh, yes, please. That would be just amazing. I'd be honored. So it's a very contemporary piece, which shows off more the opera elements of my voice. The second original song was written during COVID. And the Wordsmiths group out of Alliston, a writing group I belong to, they gave us a challenge to write about the sea. So I wrote a sea shanty. And the interesting thing is, as I was writing the poetry, the music was popping into my head. And so that is the second song. And then the third song is a very fun collaboration with a gentleman by the name of Casey Cole, who owns Color Your World in Orangeville here.
Oh, wow, okay.
And Casey plays the handpan drum. And one day Casey was over at our house doing some work, and he said, Angela, you got to listen to this instrument. And so he started playing this instrument, and while he was playing it, words popped into my mind as well as lyrics. Well, the lyrics as well as a melody. And I thought, well, oh, wow. So we worked on that for about a year. So I'm proud that that third song is also an original piece. The others are traditional Celtic songs, which we all love and know very well, like A Fond Kiss and My Love is Like a Red, Red Rose. But I am delighted that there are 3 originals on it as well.
That's very impressive. So now we're going to leap to some more writing. I did hint at the fact that Angela is also an author.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about this book, Past Lives Revenge.
Well, this is an idea I've had for quite some time, and basically this is the synopsis. There's a young man, he's approaching the age of 30, and he's had debilitating nightmares for most of his life. Now, they did go away for a while, but as he approaches 30, he becomes more and more stressed by these bad nightmares, these visions, essentially. And he meets a lovely lady by the name of Emma Jackson, and Emma is a psychic. And as he shares his troubles with her, she begins to suggest that perhaps this is not a childhood trauma, which everyone is trying to say that it's sourced from that, but maybe something that happened before. And after the third past life regression, David learns that he was indeed murdered in his most recent life. And because of the time frame, he reincarnated almost immediately. So he realizes very soon that his killer is still alive. And he should obviously get some closure just knowing what happened, but it's not enough for David. He needs to track down the killer of his former self.
Okay. Well, that's incredibly interesting. Well, where did this come from? Let's talk about that.
Well, growing up in the household I did, which was rather a unique one, we all believe in reincarnation. And so I've always toyed around with the idea what if you were killed in your most recent life, and what if you had to track down the killer because you just couldn't rest until you couldn't get any peace until you knew.
So not happy thoughts about reincarnation.
Not necessarily, but fun. And it was actually fun because I'd played around with this script, this idea, when I was in my 20s. And then life got in the way. I got married, I had a job, and I just sort of put it to the side. And this curled up manuscript was stuck in the drawer. And every year, cleaning up, I would look at it and think, nah, and I'd put it back in the drawer again. But I don't know why I did this. In December of 2022, I opened up the drawer, I looked at it, and I said to myself, why don't you at least read it?
Right.
So I started to read it, and I thought, well, some of the language could be really fixed up because it's I used too many adverbs, for example, and I thought it was maybe too flowery and maybe not as well. I wrote as someone in their mid-20s, right? So it's different. So then I started rewriting it, and then I got halfway to the middle, and I got halfway through, and I thought, oh, I can't rewrite. I have to write new stuff now. And I thought, oh, you know what, not a problem. So I sort of, I sketched out, I made a plan of the rest of what I wanted to write, and it just flowed. One day I wrote 5,500 words. I didn't take a break, barely. And my husband comes in the room, he says, you look awfully pale. Did you even eat today? I thought, no, actually, I forgot.
Well, I think that happens with all of us. When we're so involved in what we love to do, or we're involved in whatever we're doing, you tend to forget. Like, I mean, at an event, I can come home and go, I don't think I ate all day, just because you're working, and I love what I do. So you just definitely get into it. But doing something like that, where you're writing a story and you're seeing the next step and the next step, I can see where you could lose so much time.
Absolutely, I couldn't stop. You know, I couldn't stop, and I'm so excited about these two characters, David Harris and Emma Jackson, that I've actually started my second book, and I'm at chapter 19.
My goodness.
And yeah, it's fun. I didn't know it would be this fun. I've always said I'm a poet, you know, short and sweet. You pick a few succinct words, and it's like painting with words. That's the way I look at poetry. So to write a book was something I thought, nah, the best it'll be is a novella. But as I got into it, it became a decent-sized book of about 80,000 words.
Wow.
And it's fun.
And book number 2 is already on the way.
It's being worked on, yeah. And that one is called Revenge is Not Enough.
And you don't get to know anything about it. Not yet. You have to get the first one first.
Not yet, yes.
But yeah, I mean, the writing process fascinates me too. I mean, I've actually always talked about in my head. I don't think I've even said it out loud. I would love to write a children's book.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And then I'm just like, and then same as you. Like, I mean, I've never written anything about it. I have ideas in my head, and I just go, yeah, one day. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe when I retire in 30 years. Yeah, no.
I think you're having too much fun to retire.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, were you working on both the album and the book at the same time?
Yes, I was.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very busy, as well as, of course, I'm a director for Procyon, as you know. So, yeah, it was a very busy last year. It's always busy, but yeah, it was a big project. It actually overlapped a little bit because I did finish writing the book by about June of last year, and then in July I started going into the recording studio for the music. So there was a little bit of a break for the book, which was not a bad thing, because when I got back to it late last year, I did my first rounds of edits then, and I had fresh eyes because I hadn't seen it for a while. Wonderful. So the timing of that actually worked out quite well, because I had a bit of a break from the writing project. And then, of course, I went to work with an editor as well.
Yeah, and the entire process.
And so the book is finished. It's ready. That's my prototype copy there. It's going to be released on July 9th.
Perfect.
And that gives my publicist, who is Mickey Mickelson, an opportunity to promote it.
Wonderful.
But it is available for pre-sale already on Amazon.
Amazing. Angela, thank you so much for joining us. And congratulations and good luck with everything.
Thank you very much. It was a real delight to spend time with you again. Thank you so much. You're a gracious hostess.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye for now.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Summer days, summer nights, lots of things to do, places to go, and people to see. If you're having a few drinks, be sure to plan ahead and get home safely. We don't want to